Good evening and welcome to Thursday's episode of The State of Scottish Football. As you can see, we have a smorgasbord of panellists joining me, Greg Playfair, as we tuck into last night's feast of cinch Premiership action. First up, we have a man who's developed quite the appetite for Thursdays with you all and making his hat-trick appearance. Please welcome back, Graham.
Thanks for having me, boys. Glad to be back on.
Good stuff. Next up, we have State of Scottish Football's equivalent to a Buttery and recent Masters graduate. Please welcome back, Robbie.
Cheers. Great to be here again.
Good to be. We missed you last week. Obviously, you're out celebrating your graduation, so well done on that.
Yeah, thank you very much. It's buzzing. Still buzzing.
No, good. And last but by no means least, joining our quartet is a young man, and I do say young man, I found out his age earlier, who's been chomping at the bit to make his debut on our show. Please welcome Aberdeen fan and Willie Miller ill-wisher, Kobe.
I'm not sure what the last part was.
Yeah. No, good. Well, to be fair, yeah, obviously, as we know, we've got a few Aberdeen fans that come on here. Certainly, I'll take the title then of Willie Miller ill-wisher. As always, we are live on all the various platforms, so please do get involved by commenting, and we'll do our best to respond and react through the next hour to all the comments we're able to talk about, of course. Please do keep it clean and fun. We'll discuss the topic in your screen in due course, of course, where was Tynecastle season defining win, shut up, Greg, put my teeth back in. Was a Tynecastle win a season defining result for Celtic? But first, we have to start, of course, with the main event last night, and that is talking about the result. Hearts 1, Celtic 2. There is a lot to digest from the game, which the four of us will break down, but we'll be remiss of me not to start with Jambo Graham and get your thoughts on the match itself. I know, please grab the soapbox, tell us about the game. What's your thoughts? I know you've had almost 24 hours to think about it, but we'll come to you first. What's your take on the game?
So, on Sundays on Match of the Day too, when they do too good, too bad, I'm just going to do one good, one bad. Starting with the good, which was Celtic. I thought for the first hour, they were excellent, really controlled. I thought, considering the players who had out, I thought they were very impressive. I thought Matt O'Reilly played really well. He was always looking for pockets of space. He looked very comfortable on the ball. I thought Hatate, again, as he did against Hibs, was excellent. His composure, his vision, his passing, and obviously got the goal. I thought Celtic were very, very impressive. They created a lot of decent chances. And I thought, again, Jota, until he went off, was probably the standout player for me. I thought he was excellent. So overall, for the first hour, I thought Celtic were very, very good. The bad, I thought Hearts for the first hour were absolutely dreadful. This is something that I've been on about for a while. In the big games, Robin Nielsen bottles it, and I thought he did again last night. This has happened too many times before. The first half, yet again, we were so passive. We got no control over the game. It was just really, really poor to watch. I thought the game changed. Obviously, the goal from Boyce helps. I know he was offside, but Giacomakis is offside for his goal as well. But for me, the turning point was Benny Maringame coming on, because when he came on, he stopped Hatate from getting control of the game, and I thought Hearts started to get control back. For me, something that I know about Nielsen is, if you look back at the 2020 Cup final, we were 2-0 down at half-time because we sat off, second half with the goal, and we got to penalties. The League Cup this season, again, Parkhead, we sat off, go 2-0 down, second half we come back and play well, and the same thing happened again last night. 2-0 down before we start playing. So for me, Robbie has to learn his lessons for these games and start the games a lot better than he did last night. But it would be taken away from Celtic, who I think completely deserved to win the game. Overall, I thought they had control of the game, and I thought they were very, very impressive for long spells in that game.
Yeah, no, you've raised a few good points here. I thought we were going to ask for Robbie to go, and certainly not our own Robbie. Not our own Robbie, please stay. Robbie, I'm going to cut with you, actually, because in terms of team setup from the team sheets, obviously Hearts looked quite attacking. Celtic, again, strong, even despite having probably, you could argue, 5 first-teamers out that probably would and could have started last night. Matt O'Reilly, as you mentioned, started. What was your take on seeing back the respective lineups and tactics to start the match?
Yeah, well, you could clearly see from the start Hearts wanting to play the ball over a lot of through balls. That Barry Mackay got a bit of luck with that a few times in the first half. But other than that, for Hearts, as Graham alluded to, there was too much just the game passing them by, or complacency in the passing, the crossing. overhit. Like, it's just something was evident. I just knew they was going to make a change at half time because it wasn't working. But if Celtic, as you say, Hatate was fantastic. That's the first time I've seen him play. And I mentioned this on the blog from my work before the game, that Giamatti starting, that it was a huge game for him. And then in the end, it's his goal. And it separates the sides. And I think it's big that he scored in the Cup at the weekend and he's back scoring in the league for Celtic as well. Because for being a high-profile enough signing in the summer for Ange, it hadn't worked out so far for him, but it could be, when we say, go into it more, but a season-defining result for Celtic could even be a huge for Giamakis, and even players like Jota, he was back in the side, I think, first time in over a month back in the Celtic side, and he was fantastic. He's a player that I just love watching. No matter what team you support, you like these players in the league attacking, always looking for chances to find space, have shots, even sometimes the one on target. It's just good to see. In fair play to Robbie Nielsen, I can see similarities, Kobe Ono to Derek McInnes with Aberdeen.
Yeah.
Start off too defensively, and then once you got a goal or two down, actually play well. Because I'm really impressed with Hart, especially the last half an hour or so. They actually got pressed high, got into Celtic faces, and I used the word Celtic were rattled in a way, and I think if that penalty had went in, the scoreline definitely might have been a bit different.
Yeah, good. I think you've sort of seen my notes before this, quite spooked out. But again, Kobe, I'm going to come to you, and I think Robbie's going to touch on a bit there. The first 10 minutes for Hearts, they did look positive. I was at the game. The press Celtic, Starfield making a mistake. Carter Vickers, which again looked a bit shaky as well. Again, they were kind of up for it, but then there seemed to be an instruction to sit back and let Celtic have the ball. And as an Aberdeen fan, you'll have seen various managers over the years, but probably, given your age, probably just Derek McInnes and Stephen Glass set up on a similar approach. Is that something you can kind of understand with, like, obviously, you've been from Aberdeen, just sitting back and try to defend?
I can, but obviously, I think there was a good bit of talk going into the game, obviously, with Celtic's injury problems. Obviously, the game at the start of the season where Hearts won at Tynecastle. So I thought, they might have, started on the front foot or tried to, but against Celtic, obviously, it's hard. As he's all touched on, the new signing, it was a screamer of a goal. But yeah, it's harder, I guess, for Hearts now. But the boy Beningame is, when he played against Aberdeen, earlier on the season at Tynecastle, you're looking at him thinking he's ace. And I initially thought he was only on loan from Everton, but I couldn't believe he's permanent. He seems a great player, but no, I kind of get why you'd maybe want to start slow, get, through the first 10 minutes. That's always an important, stage in the game against the Old Firm anyway. But I think I understand it from a sense. Obviously, we've seen it many times, 1-0, that's Parkhead, the 2-1 game. So, it's something I do understand from that point of view. But, with Hearts as well, they don't have much firepower. There's been lots of talk about the boy Barry Mackay recently, so I guess from some sense there is. Liam Boyce, there's a lot of talk of only getting 10 goals. However, obviously, yesterday the rules were reversed, so I kind of understand it from, obviously, my point of view and experiences.
No, good. I mean, we'll kind of go through the kind of main match incidents as well. Again, I'll come back to you, Graham. Diego Jota, that's the Liverpool player. Jota for Celtic was first half was electric, and obviously Michael Smith was kind of forced off. It's one of those, when I was at the game, I was like, when a player gets, when you're younger and the school teams get absolutely roasted and then just kind of fakes an injury, it kind of felt like that watching it. I don't know, what was your take on that battle in the first half?
We've all been there, mate. Trust me, we've all been there. No, I felt sorry for Michael Smith because Jota was having an absolute field day. We obviously didn't know that he was injured. What disappointed me, actually, I think what you said last night in the group chat, actually, Giannelli wasn't helping him. He wasn't tracking back and helping him like I think he should have been. They should have doubled up on Jota because he was absolutely terrorising Michael Smith every time he got the ball. And Michael Smith, while he's a brilliant professional, he's not got the pace to deal with a guy like Jota. And I thought for that first 60-odd minutes until Jota went off, he was a standout play for me. He was absolutely brilliant. I think if you look at a guy like Kyogo, who has been sensational for Celtic, I think Jota's been just as good. But I did feel that Michael Smith was struggling a bit. I know obviously he had that injury, but he needed help out there. There was nobody really going and saying, right, we need to help him double up on him here. But there's absolutely no doubt Jota is a phenomenal talent, and it's a scary thing, and he's only going to get better.
Yeah, and obviously I know Celtic fans want him to sign permanently as well. I know there's been a change in manager at Benfica, which they're sort of saying may put a bit of a spanner in the works or delay this sort of deal further, but I think he's a great player to watch. And we'll kind of move on to, obviously, he was terrorising Michael Smith. They brought on Atkinson as a replacement right wing back. Unfortunate as it is, he was involved in the first sort of Celtic goal. Again, coming to you, Robbie, do you think Craig Gordon should have done better? Although, again, not taken away from the strike, fantastic from Hatate. What's your view on the goal?
Yeah, initially I was like, what a strike. I think that is true. But I was like, goal of the season contender from Hatate, one for the highlight reel. And it's some finish, but Craig Gordon, on the form that he's been in this season, probably better than ever at his age, just signed a new contract with Hearts. I think he has to do better. It just kind of goes through him. I know it's a wonderful strike, but he'll look back at that and think he surely maybe could have got a hand to it or something, maybe just to parry it onto the post. But you can't take away from the striking. I mention this a lot with these Japanese players come to Celtic or overseas players. It's just great to see these quality players willing to have shots, scoring fantastic goals in our league, because it brings that commercial value as well. As much as Hearts fans like yourself would have been hating it, seeing heads in your hands thinking, Gordon, what are you doing?
Yeah, I think looking at it as well, I think credit has to go to Hatate for the press. So obviously he's the one. And again, I know I was speaking with Colin Watt in the chat as well, and I know other Celtic supporters would have said Hatate wasn't his best game compared to the Hibs. I thought he was brilliant. See, for obviously off the camera, it was phenomenal, and he's made that goal. He's obviously, his strike is fantastic. I think Gordon, to his defence slightly, it was kind of, I think it was Halkett that was kind of in his vision, or Kings, I can't remember who it was, so it's a bit unsighted, but given the sort of build-up he's had and given the performances he's had against Celtic and other teams this season, he probably should have done better. Kobe, I'm going to come to you again in terms of the Celtic goal. That man, and for me, I thought he was better than Hatate first, better than Jota first half. Hatate involved with the second goal, pass out wide and over the ball went in the box. Where offside for you in terms of that? I know Robbie Nielsen said that goal was offside. Obviously, Ange Postecoglou is not going to get drawn upon it, but do you think there was a hint of offside there, or was it offside?
I think it was, but then all the referee decisions made up in the game, you know, they were kind of levelled over the course of the game, with the Hearts goal being offside, that goal given, the penalty shout, so it was all kind of levelled. But no, I do think there was a bit of offside in that goal. I actually missed that goal, to be fair, but looking back on the replays, yeah, definitely, I think for me.
Yeah, and Graham, in terms of, I think we could have mentioned it before as well, Giamakis on the score sheet as well. What did you make of him and his battle? I know some of the comments here, him and Suter having a good battle. What did you make of him last night?
Yeah, I thought he looked all right. I thought he looked decent. I think it was a pretty good battle. I know that before the game, a lot of Hearts fans, myself included, thought that Suter might not be involved. Maybe no surprise that he was, but I thought it was a good battle. I kind of like watching a physical battle like that. You know, two big, strong defenders against a big, strong attacker. And I thought Giamakis looked very impressive. You know, with Maeda being out and with Kyogo being out, he's going to have to play probably a lot more games than maybe he thought he might. But he showed a lot of good signs last night. He's strong, he's physical, he's exactly what you want in a striker like that. And yes, the goal was offside, but he took it well. It was a good finish. And I think he'll have enjoyed that battle with Suter, I think.
Yeah, and for again, the thing that you were kind of asking as well was Suter boo. I didn't hear any boos for John Suter in that over the course of the 90 minutes, but we'll touch on it at the end. But at that point, obviously 2-0, I was sitting there thinking this could be. I've seen this story before, like as you said at the start of the show, with Hearts' recent performances against Celtic, the cup final of the two games at Celtic Park this season, the League Cup and the league. Hearts have to go behind before something changes, and I thought Celtic could have actually been 3-0, 4-0 potentially at that halfway stage. But Robbie Nielsen did change things at half time, bringing on 21-year-old Everton loanee Ellis Sims up front. But 55 minutes, Robbie, I didn't think the game really turned until Barry Beningame came on and Gary Mackay-Steven. What did you make of that, kind of, looking in terms of the swing of the game?
Yeah, so putting on Ellis Sims at half-time, that didn't surprise me. I was kind of deep down hoping he'd have a similar impact to Scott Sinclair, who had that impact for Celtic against Hearts on his Celtic debut in 2016. He signed on that day and then played and then scored the winner. So I thought, maybe it's written in the stars. Sims has got to come on at half-time and turn the game around. And yeah, as you mentioned, I don't think he really got too much involved in the game until that change in Mackay-Steven for Cochrane and Beningame for Cammy Devlin. And then that's when Hearts, the change of shape that happened there, just allowed the ball to get up to, just seemed to find more space. Still, despite I don't really know if he had a clear-cut chance, but he seemed to be involved in terms of wanting to put his body about, try link up play. It looked promising if you're going to be basically thrown in, because he wouldn't have met his teammates or anything.
He hadn't, no. He'd only met them half an hour before, but obviously meeting time sort of thing. So he was there doing his press photos for the website and stuff, and the players came in, and that was it. He was chucked on the bench.
Yeah, and Kobe makes a good point with Beningame when he was playing against Aberdeen. I think I put Beningame in my State of Scottish Football Team of the Year. And,
He did.
Yeah, and some of you Hearts fans were saying, I'm not too sure about that. But on the games that I'd seen, and since yesterday, it must just be a thing about games I watch involving Hearts. But I thought he was fantastic when he came on and really bossed that midfield at Celtic for this previous 55 minutes. Had kind of strolled while O'Reilly and Beaton.
Yeah, I think it's the match itself is kind of similar to Celtic against Hibs in the sense that Celtic could have been 3 or 4 up against Hibs in that first half the other week. Same again first half. If Hearts were 3-0 down, it's like self-inflicted. Hearts have kind of been the makers of their own downfall for that. But I think when Beningame came on, Cammy Devlin, who he replaced, has been impressive, but he played to the occasion. He was booked. It could have been set off, arguably as well, for another foul taken off. But I think when Beningame coming on, he absolutely strolled. I think he was the best player from when he was on. I think Hatate put so much pressure in that first half. He tired, naturally, and I think when you look at the bench, it was, who did he put on? Sorrow or James McCarthy again, who are nowhere near the sort of, I know it's only been sort of 2 games in the league duty, but it was phenomenal. Again, with Beningame on, Gary Mackay-Steven, Hearts, momentum did pick up and Hearts got their goal. Talking about Liam Boyce coming to you, Kobe. Again, offside for you, that one?
Yeah, definitely. I think that one's more of the clear in the game. You can literally just line it up with anything you can see is offside. But then again, it was levelled up over the course of the game. But you speak of Liam Boyce, it was a good goal. Obviously, he went on to miss the pen. However, usually it's the other way around, as I said. But I thought you mentioned earlier the boy Ellis Sims. I'm pretty sure about 24 hours before he played an under-23 game for Everton. And then he get chucked in the deep end in a game against Celtic. It wouldn't have been easy for him. And when he did come on, he looked really good. But Liam Boyce, again this season, when he's been fit, he's been your player, obviously, from the spot. And I think, is that maybe where you think Ellis Sims will be brought on? You think Liam Boyce is more, he needs to be clinical, maybe out with the penalty spot, or?
I think Liam Boyce, it really hasn't been challenged by Nondue. Obviously, he's now away. Ewan Henderson, when loaned to Alloa, I think he's going to go back there in the coming days. So we kind of needed that kind of competition because he has had obviously injuries. He has been out. I think honestly, from the game, Liam Boyce was terrible. It was absolutely terrible, and I think it's one of those that someone of my pals next to me thought he's going to miss this. And to be fair, I didn't realise his record. He's scored 5 from 8. Although he did score from a rebound in one of them. Yeah, 5 from 8. Yeah, so you're almost looking at half. Half. Well, 5 from 8 is still good, but it's he's not clinical, and he sent Joe Hart the wrong way as well, which is kind of the frustrating part. But the penalty again, again, I don't think there was any complaints from the Celtic players there. It was a penalty. But in terms of that, at that point, did you think the momentum had gone, Graham? Obviously, once a penalty had kind of missed, do you think that moment kind of, we'll talk about season defining for Celtic, but do you think that kind of took the wind out of Hearts' sails?
I think it did. I actually said as well last night, I think Boyce is going to miss this. He does everything right. He sends the keeper the wrong way, but just hits the post. But I was kind of sitting there last night thinking it would have been funny if John Souttar had taken that penalty. How would the Hearts fans have actually have scored that or missed that? But I think that did definitely change. I think the players kind of lost a bit of heart after that. I said on Twitter last night that Ellis Sims won more in the air in 36 minutes than Nondwe did in his whole career at Hearts. I thought Sims, when he came on, was very, very impressive. I think he will start against Motherwell. I think you were right about Liam Boyce. I thought he was actually quite poor last night. His touch was totally out. The subs made a difference for me. I think Benny Beringame, for me, was excellent. Gary Mackay-Steven, who I've not been a massive fan of recently, actually looked a lot better last night. But I just think after we missed the penalty, you can see the heads going down and just thinking, that's the chance. We didn't really create a lot of clear-cut chances after that. And I think Celtic got a bit more control. But if that penalty goes in, it could change the game completely. Hearts could go and win the game, or we could get a point out of that. But the penalty miss was huge last night. There's no doubt about that.
Yeah, I think if Hearts score that penalty, at that point, Celtic at best are leaving with a point. I think momentum was there. Tynecastle was kind of rocking at that point, and then that miss did kind of seep it out because he wasn't having a good game. Barry Mackay, I don't think had a good game. And it was one of those. Peter Haring had a really off night as well in the middle, but that point as well, I think obviously Celtic. I thought Near Beaton done a good shift in the middle there. We made him look like was it Busquets? Honestly, it was like Busquets in the middle there at times last night, and it kind of summed up his night. He was outpacing Alex Cochrane for the second, wasn't he? So yeah, he had a bad game, but. I'll come to you, Robbie, in terms of that, and in terms of the result, and obviously the headline we've got at the bottom there. Is this a result you look back at the end of the season and go, Celtic, this match, the turning point, coming away from Tynecastle, having been beaten earlier in the season at Tynecastle, coming here, getting the 3 points, is this just going to be a result that's going to spur Celtic on?
Yeah, yes and no. I think it's got to be a result that spurs Celtic on. Tynecastle is probably the most intimidating stadium to go to in Scotland. A fantastic stadium under lights. You just see Matt O'Reilly in his interview how overwhelmed he was with the atmosphere. So I think under that circumstances for Celtic too, considering you say like the heads went down after the penalty, but I still thought Hearts rallied well enough to still try. Like the intent was there, just couldn't do it. So for Celtic to see that game out, get that 3 points, and keep that gap at the top to just 4 points, they'll be pretty gutted. We'll speak about it later with Rangers getting a goal, a win by a goal to 0. But I think in terms of season defining, absolutely, it's got to be a lot of twists and turns in the tail yet in the next 16 games. But it's one that you'll look back and think that was a very good 3 points in the end, because Hearts are no mugs this season. You've seen, I think they've only lost 2 games now at home this season, so formidable home record. So for Celtic to go away from home and win, fair play to Ange and the gang.
Ange and the gang, that could be a new name for the squad. I'm sure that'll be on the DVD. Ange and the gang, looking back at that result at Tynecastle. But coming to yourself, Kobe, was there any other players on the night that you thought played really well, worth mentioning, or any other players that had a bit of a shocker?
Matt O'Reilly, I thought his debut, I think he went down with injury at one point, and he gave away the pen, obviously, and you're thinking it could be one he's maybe not going to look back on if he does come off. But I thought, when at times when Celtic did come under pressure, he kind of helped absorb that pressure. The striker, obviously, what's his Gia? I can't remember how it's pronounced.
Giamakis.
I thought he was all right as well. He's came under, I'd say, a bit of stick, or he's been a bit slower to maybe adapt to Celtic. But obviously the players he's had ahead of him at times, Kyogo, obviously when he's fully fit, it's obviously not going to be easy. But going back to the previous, the way I think Rangers come out, obviously they won the game. the mood after that win, and then the mood after the win, obviously with Celtic, I think that could be where you look at it and say maybe the difference in the two camps going into the last 16 games, because it is two different moods. Obviously, Rangers still with a little gap at the top of it. They're obviously getting frustrated after a point gained at Pittodrie, and 3 points just about gained last night. It's obviously a bit frustrating at Ibrox. But no, I thought, as you said, Beningame, you've already touched on him. Sims, we've talked about. I thought that them two were the kind of key players for that Hearts team yesterday.
Yeah, no, I would agree. In terms of comments coming in from our main headline, Jonathan D, no, there's still 16 games to go, plenty of twists and turns yet, which I would agree. It's the cinch, of course, there's going to be twists and turns. And Scott Howe, that game was absolutely massive as well. So, yeah, big result there. In terms of the context of the season, so moving on, Graham, coming to you, we'll start with Hearts since you're a Hearts fan. Do you think Hearts are going to delve back into the transfer market? Is there any position you'd like to see strengthened?
I think we have to now. The injury to Craig Halkett yesterday, I think that's a hamstring injury, so that could be a wee while. Michael Smith, obviously we've got Atkinson there, but I think we need another centre-back. Even if John Souttar stays, I think we need to strengthen that area. I would like to see another forward brought in. I think Sims will be a really good signing, but I still think we're a wee bit short. I would imagine that Henderson will go out on loan at some point again, maybe back to Alloa. I think midfield, I think we're okay there. Again, last night we didn't see Aaron McInnes, maybe not a surprise. But I think there are areas that maybe need to be strengthened. I still think we will get that third place. I'm happy with the way the season's gone. I've got no issue with that at all. I just think in big games, Robbie has to understand that, especially at Tynecastle, you've got to come out and get the crowd on side and have a go at teams, no matter who it is, Celtic, Rangers, Hibs, whoever it is. Last night, that first half was very, very poor. I think Liam Boyce, I know he's been struggling with injury, but I thought last night his touch was really, really poor. I would like to see Sims and Boyce start on Saturday against Motherwell. I think the good thing for us last night was that teams around us dropped points, which was actually quite big. We've got Motherwell on Saturday. If we win that, we stretch our advantage. And then, obviously, next week, we've got the Edinburgh Derby, which is going to be huge. But for me, this whole John Souttar thing, I want this sorted quickly. I would rather he was gone by the end of this month. Whether he just come with the money, I don't know. But I think that has to get sorted one way or the other because it's dragging on too much, I think.
Yeah, definitely. You mentioned Rangers, probably a good segue given we're at the halfway point of the show. And again, we could talk another half an hour about this. I'm sure we could talk more about Celtic, but I'm sure a lot of the viewership have got their fix from the team on today's state of mind, Celtic state of mind earlier. So we'll move on to that game at Ibrox last night, where Rangers won 1-0, courtesy of Scott Arfield. Robbie, in terms of the result, kind of scoreline somewhat surprising, but what's your take on that Rangers winning 1-0?
Well, it doesn't surprise me that it's just 1-0 in the sense that I've watched them in the last 3 games against Aberdeen, Dundee United and St Johnstone, and despite, drop points at Aberdeen, but even the previous 2 games, they didn't really play that great. The cohesion, especially considering the players Rangers have got at their disposal like Hadji, Kent, got Morelos, you got really good quality players, but just haven't been clicking despite being 4 points at the top of the league. And I see what Giovanni Van Bronckhorst said after the game, that he was very proud because it was a very difficult game in very difficult circumstances, and they didn't really have much chances in the second half until Arthur came on and scored. And I know Livingston is that sort of team that will be hard to break down. They'll have a lot of players behind the ball, but Rangers should have that quality to score 2, 3, 4 goals against Livingston. But at the end of the day, it's 3 points, and it's 3 points closer to another title. That's the way Rangers fans should probably look at it.
Yeah, I think it should be noted as well that obviously Livingston have been in good form. They obviously got a result at Celtic Park, and again, I know obviously it was still kind of early days in Ange in Cinch action, but coming to yourself, Kobe, I know there was a penalty shout for Livingston. What's your take on it?
Well, I mean, again, they're at Ibrox. What's the odds of them getting it? But, well, look, I'm not too sure whether it is or not. I think the ref probably made the right call in the end. I think you could say. I don't think it was, but again, the chances of them getting it are very slim. But I'd almost agree with Robbie. There's a sense where he says Rangers should be putting, for. I think they done it not long ago. Was it not under Gio at Livingston as well? They scored went past them with ease, but that's at Ibrox as well under obviously a home crowd. They should be really getting through them, but could it be that kind of winter dip that we were seeing obviously the seasons before? Could it be coming back to haunt them? Who knows? But no, look, I thought Livingston deserved the praise. They defended well. Obviously there was a chance for Rangers that beat the keeper, in fact, but it was cleared off the line. So I think throughout the game, Livingston done pretty well. Kind of unlucky not to come away with something.
Yeah. Obviously, Scott Arfield scored Graham. In terms of him, his kind of role is diminished in recent seasons, well, certainly this season anyway, under Gerrard and him. But do you think when Joe Aribo coming back, that's going to be a massive boost to the Rangers team?
I think it will, because for me, he's Rangers' most creative player just now. I was very impressed with the lad Alec Lowry yesterday. I thought he was excellent. I think Rangers have got a potential star in their hands there. He looks very, very impressive. I've got to say the finish of Murfield is a very good finish. It's a very difficult skill to do that. But I think Rangers have missed Aribo. He's such a creative player. He's such an imposing figure. He dribbles really well with the ball. When he comes back, he will definitely add a lot to that Rangers team. But I think on the game last night, I think Rangers, there's no doubt they deserve to win the game. They had plenty of chances. Livingston, as Kobe and that said there, defended very well, deserve a lot of praise. But Rangers ground out the result, and they did deserve it. But as I say, that finish of Murfield is a very, very impressive finish.
Yeah, absolutely. Again, it was quite an improvised finish there, I think, and obviously getting 3 points is maintained Rangers lead at the top. It's now just still 4 points, but impressive nonetheless. Coming to you, you mentioned creativity. Rangers need that, and probably missed that last night. They have signed a man on loan from Manchester United, who you may know a bit about, Amad Diallo. Is that right, Robbie? You're a Man United supporter as well. What sort of player are Rangers getting on their hands there?
Well, a very, very creative player, I'd say, similar to Jota, or I guess they've got Kent already. A guy that hasn't had enough game time at Man United, but he came with a high price tag. I think it was 20 million plus add-ons, and he's a player that I think another one of these players that's going to excite Scottish football fans. I don't know how he'll get on. I took the Dingwall at the weekend, which could be his debut, so that'll be interesting. But certainly, Ahmad, another player that likes to play direct, likes to also link up with players, create chances, and I think I put that in the group chat saying that he could be the difference this season, and I was shocked. I thought he'd maybe go to a top European side in terms of back to an AC Milan or something. So when Rangers and Fabrizio Romano revealed that, I was quite shocked. I think it's a very good acquisition, considering you look at Rangers' front four yesterday. It took me by surprise. We've got Cedric Itten, who they only just recalled in January. We've got Lowry, 18 years old, obviously done well 2 games he's played recently. You've got Scott Wright, who just had to look at the Twitter comments last night to see what people thought of Scott Wright. I think Kobe was getting a bit of excitement from that. And then you've got Sakala, who's been in and out of the team, but he's a good player. So I think Rangers did need to strengthen in that attacking sense and players to play in behind and create that chances if the strikers are not scoring. Yeah,
I think when you look at it as well, having a player 18 million reputed, is he going to be as good as Nathan Patterson? That's the sort of going fee, whatever it is, 18, 20 million. I'm pretty sure that was the fee rumoured. But I think in terms of having an Ivory Coast talent, Ivory Coast International, a young talent who, again, has been on Fringe's Manchester United team, who a lot of supporters have been asked to get more game time. It is exciting to see him come in. I think he is certainly better than Barker, who got his game last week as well. But going on Scott Wright, I'll come to you, Kobe. I haven't seen a lot of them there and seen the comments, but what did you make of Scott Wright's performance, or what type of player is he, or do you think he's got kind of much of a future at Rangers himself?
Well, looking at the Twitter, all you had to do was type in Scott, right? It was a field day, but no, like all that aside, but there was a chance, he done quite well. He beat his man and he had a shot. It was a shock of a shot. It was nowhere near, but I think it kind of sums it up now under Gerrard when he came into a side that were already firing at Rangers when he signed for them. So it was very difficult for him to look bad, if you understand that. It was very. He had his trophy there and he had the photos with it. But I think with him for Rangers now, they've got that long list of wingers, and he was maybe one that could look like he would do something. But Rangers fans, they weren't happy with him. They weren't happy with Aiton, and they were saying, he's not fit to wear the shirt. Never wear the shirt. Get rid of him now. So
I love to see it as a guy ditched Aberdeen, grew up as a big Dons fan, and then moved to Rangers. So you love to see it.
Yeah, well, I think when he was playing against us, he was obviously getting pelters. He got hooked early, and I think whereas Jack kind of thrives under that, I think he definitely kind of he never enjoyed it. Let's just say, obviously got hooked, and I don't think it's obviously. I'm not saying it's had an impact on in this game, but I think he's maybe lost. I don't know, a bit. I'm trying to see. I was looking at his performance yesterday. He's lost that bit. I think a spark he maybe had at the start of the season. Obviously, he saw his goal, the Trivella, which was against Livingston, I'm pretty sure, funny enough. And everyone was saying, goal of the season. And look at him now. And a lot can change.
Yeah, I think wingers are kind of hot and cold, and kind of our confidence players as well. We've seen that last night. We were wingers last night, Graham and Barry Mackay and Janelli, who weren't so great, and obviously Jota, who as a player has been doing well. I'm confident is obviously going to rip fullbacks apart. But we'll move from Rangers Livingston instead, and we'll spare a lot of the viewership more talk of that side from the other half of their city. We'll move down to the city of Discovery, where it was Dundee United, Ross County, where Thomas Courts, Tam Courts, whatever. I don't know what he gets called. Courts, whatever. Yeah, Courts. I don't know. His side won 2-1 against Ross County. So coming to you, Graham, and Nicky Clark was the man that got the 2 goals for Dundee United, and Regan Charles Cook, who we can talk about in a wee bit for Ross County. He got their goal originally. It was the lead. But what did you make of that result there, and what did you make of the game from the highlights you've seen?
Who needs Tony Watt when Nicky Clark scoring goals now? Look at that. I thought United deserved it. It was a massive, massive win. They've not won a league game since November, I think it is. So that was a huge game for them last night. I think United deserved it. I've got to be honest, I think Regan Charles Cook, I don't think about Ross County for very long because he's a very, very good player. I think he's far too good for Ross County. But in terms of United, that was a massive, massive win. I thought Tony Watt actually played quite well. I thought he linked up well with Nicky Clark. I think Ross County had a couple of decent chances. But obviously that, I know there was a lot of complaints about a penalty that Ross County didn't get, and the penalty that, Ross County didn't get and United did get. I think both of them were probably, I think the Ross County one, I can see why it wasn't given, as Michael Stewart said last night. But I just think that was such a massive result for United. They had to get a win there because they play Celtic on Saturday, and I can't see them getting much there. So I really like Thomas Courts. I think he's a really good manager. He's had a bit of a difficult run, so hopefully that might spur them on again. But no, that was a massive 3 points for them yesterday.
Yeah, we'll stick with Ross County, the opener, obviously, Regan Charles Cook scoring. Usual contributor Craig Leach has said, I would take Regan Charles Cook at Hibs. To be fair, he has had a great season. What do you think, Robbie, in terms of Regan Charles Cook and Ross County? Has he been the best player, obviously Harry Clark aside, has he been the best player for Ross County this season?
Yeah, I'd say so. From the games that I've watched Ross County, you look now, despite that defeat, the 4 points adrift of the 2 relegation zones, and I think that's credit to guys like Regan Charles Cook, drives midfield with great chances, obviously chipping a goal or 2. So I think it's been a fantastic recruit for Malky Mackay to get him up to Dingwall, because I'm sure his top 6 team, even Aberdeen, I think we'd be happy enough with Regan Charles Cook. So it's one of these. I think Ross County and Victoria Park faithful will have to enjoy him while he's there.
Yeah, definitely. And moving back, obviously, to Dundee United and obviously Nicky Clark scoring. This young centre-half, Drysdale, I think it just came on loan, had a bit of a shocker. I need to ask you though, Kobe, right? You've got a 5'10" striker in Nicky Clark and a 6'5" centre-half in Drysdale. Should he not be winning headers?
He should be, and I think he's on loan from, I don't know if it's Coventry or something. Yeah, he doesn't even jump, and I think he's let Nicky Clark use him as elevation, and it is a great header from Nicky Clark, but I think he's got to be doing much better. I think, well, he was, was he not at the end of a penalty claim as well? So it wasn't a great game from him, especially at that stage of the game. You've got yourself, you're in the game, just hang in there. And at that stage, I don't know if it was just the pressure, obviously, away from home. I don't know what it was, but he's got to be doing better. Nicky Clark, obviously, you said, 5'10". He's actually a great ball in. I thought from was it Tony Watt that whipped it in? I thought, but yeah, Nicky Clark getting back on the score sheet.
Yeah, comment from Lanky67. Christopher Ayer was 6'4" and couldn't jump. He was awful. Yeah, he's in the Premier League playing for Brentford for a multi-million-pound deal. So, God knows how much I would go for these days if I was playing. Because I'm not as good as Christopher Ayer, not as tall either. But needless to say, in terms of Tony Watt, Nicky Clark, what's your view on Graham? Because I know Tam Courts, whatever it is, the Dundee United manager, he was saying that Nicky Clark probably doesn't fit into the system, which is a bit bizarre to hear the manager say that. But for me, he's, I remember when he played at Aberdeen, and this, again, a bit of an anorak, he used to play centre midfield back probably when Kobe and Robbie had just entered primary school. I remember he made his way there, and then obviously went through the leagues. Obviously became a centre forward, but Nicky Clark, surely he's a striker if he's scoring 2 goals. He's a top goal scorer this season for Dundee United as well. What's your thoughts on him and the challenge with obviously McNulty's still there as well? What's your view on that?
I feel so old to talk about primary school now. Looking at you guys, honestly. I think Nicky Clark, I know he's had a lot of injuries, but I think he's a very impressive player. As you just said a minute ago, he's out jumping a guy that's over 6 foot for that goal. The desire to show him, to win that was brilliant. I think for the manager to come out and say it doesn't fit the system, it is a strange one to come out and say, but you know what? It's up to Nicky Clark to prove that he can fit that system. And I think in training, I'm sure he will show that. I think him and Tony Watt can have a good partnership. And as you say, Mark McNulty's to come back as well. I think United will probably still look to strengthen that striking area by Monday, because I still think they're a little bit short. I don't know who they'll get in, but I think Nicky Clark is a very intelligent player as well as being a very good finisher, and that'll give him a lot of confidence last night. Those 2 goals, that'll really help his confidence. I think if they can get him and Tony Watt linking together, I think that'll be a really good partnership. But I just think Mark McNulty coming back in, I do like him as well. They've got a decent array of quality there, but I just think one more striker, and I think United will be fine.
Yeah, I think they're kind of thereabouts in terms of the team. I think they're not too bad. I think they keep Siegrist as well, although they have signed that Finnish international goalkeeper, so potentially we may see him move on transfer deadline day, maybe even to Celtic. I'm sure Celtic fans would welcome Siegrist there. In terms of, I don't know, again, as an aside, Scott Bain ran round front of the Gorgie stand, so the side opposite where they should be warming up, to kind of pass a note or to talk to Joe Hart, and was getting absolute pelters. And it was great to see again, because I used to sit in that stand with Scott Bain watching Hearts many years ago. And then we've got a comment from Craig. Greg used to get smaller when you used to jump up for a header, which is absolutely true. And in terms of Let's Talk Football, our friend Dave says it's Tam Courts, and then Scott Howe, Tam High Court, and then Dave replied, probably has been in a High Court. He is from Fife. So let's not dig out Fifers this evening, Dave. But we are going to move from Tayside down to Lanarkshire for the battle between Motherwell and Hibs, which, let's see, it'll probably be a quick chat here. We've got the battle between Jenna's Steelman and Craig's Maloney ball. Hibs, Robbie, 0-0. Again, did you get much of the game, much of the highlights? What's your take on the result?
Yeah, I take on the overall result. I guess Motherwell, they maintain that 2-point gap over Hibs in 4th place, so they'll be pleased with that, especially considering they played out the last 17 minutes of 10 men after Liam Donnelly being sent off. So it's probably a positive for Motherwell. Hibs under Sean Maloney, they'll probably be wanting to be seeing a bit more of a spark, scoring more goals. They've just lost Martin Boyle, and I think the problem Hibs fans had with Jack Ross is just playing too defensively and wasn't getting excited enough. And are they seeing that under Hibs with Sean Maloney? I'm not entirely sure at all. I think on a Motherwell perspective, from what I've seen of the game and speaking to a few Motherwell fans, Kevin Van Veen had a really good chance in the first half, and I think a few Motherwell fans were frustrated with him because he had a couple of chances that if he buried, the gap could have been ending up being 4 points between the sides. So I think both sides could see points dropped in that, but also Motherwell, you're in 4th place. Would Motherwell after last season, where they finished last season, was probably below par. So they can stay in 4th place. The Wild fans will be really pleased, and just shows why Graham Alexander just got a new contract, I think, a couple of weeks ago.
Yeah. Talk about Graham Alexander just now, ask you, Kobe. So, Graham Alexander was sent off in the match after protesting Donnelly's second booking, which was a red card. What's your view on the incident?
Yeah, he was looking raging, to be honest, going off that pitch. But Donnelly's a rash player. I think we've seen that so far. When he's been at Motherwell, he's very rash. I never saw the first booking, but the second one, I'm pretty sure it was. I'm very pretty confident it was. The first one, I don't know if any use, but the game is
It was a kind of standard booking these days in this day and age. So my take on it anyway.
Yeah, obviously the result coming out, you have said it was a dry game, but I'm sure Robbie could maybe agree. It's very frustrating from an Aberdeen point of view, and it's more, I think, a result for the league table. Obviously, both teams in and around, and that's a game as from an Aberdeen's perspective. You're looking at, if we beat St Mirren and they drop points, well, both teams have ended up dropping 2 points. But going into the game, both teams just lost their best player. Obviously, Boyle went. Obviously, he's left, and then so is Connie Watt. So yeah, it's it was going to be a tricky game. I dare say both will look to strengthen in the window, but yeah, very frustrating from my end of things.
For Graham, for two teams that were in the top 6, it was a game bereft of quality in the sense of, I think, 2 shots on target the whole game. Craig just put here, Hibs had almost 200 more passes than Motherwell, yet 15 less in the final third. Hibs desperately need creativity in the middle of the park. I think they're linked again today with another player from Norway, Runar Hage from Blodo Glimt, same team as Melkerson. What's your impressions of Maloney and his early tenure at Hibs? Are you fearful ahead of the derby? Even ask you that.
Do you know what? Fair play to Sportsy for getting highlights out of that game, because there wasn't very many to see. I think when you talk about creativity, that's why I'm surprised Scott Allen doesn't start a lot more games, because I think he's probably Hibs' most creative player when he's on his game. Kevin Nisbet, again, last night, he was feeding off scraps. He didn't really have a lot to do. I think ahead of the derby, derbies are very hard to predict. I think on paper, and obviously we're sitting third, I think we do have a better side, but that doesn't matter in derby games. It's about how you play the game and not the occasion. I think I can see what Malone's trying to do. I do still think he will strengthen in the window by Monday. I think he'll probably send in a couple of, maybe 2 or 3 more players. But I think it is very early days, but I can see what he wants to try and do. He wants to try and play an attacking brand of football, and that takes time. But I think the derby is going to be very entertaining, I think, next week. Well, I'll probably just jinx it'll be 0-0 now. But I think it's got the potential to be a really decent game. Hopefully a big crowd at Easter Road. And I think it's one I'm looking forward to, but we've obviously got the weekend to come first. But I just think Hibs, they need to get, as you said there, they need to get more creativity because they were sadly lacking in that last night.
Yeah, absolutely. I think Hibs, For me, very much relying on Martin Boyle, and you can see there. I think Demi Mitchell, who's obviously just signed, I think he was more signed to be a attacking player. I think although he had a back pass towards Matt Macy, that was a bit dodgy, and then Matt Macy then got taken out by Van Veen with a booking. But I mean, for seeing that as a Hearts supporter going into a derby, seeing a goalkeeper have the jitters with a J, I said, having the jitters with the ball at his feet, it does make for a good viewing. I think there's been chat here, obviously, that Jamie McGrath has been linked with Hibs. They're saying again tonight, which would be a good sign. We'll talk about St Mirren briefly when we mention Aberdeen at the end for the two Dons at the bottom here. But Robbie, we will have to go and talk around St Johnstone versus Dundee. Both teams going into that on terrible runs. I don't know. Can you sum up this game? Can we make it sound exciting to anyone that's missed it?
I don't think so, but I do feel that Callum Davidson he just signed Nadia Shifchi and he got injured very early into his home debut, so that'll be frustrating. And also just be called Callum Hendry from Kilmarnock as well, so he's trying to put all the stops. Considering that he got Stevie May and Chris Kane, he's trying to put all the stops to try and score the way out of this predicament at the bottom of the table, because the 6 points adrift of even getting out of a playoff spot. But I don't really know how to spark up this game. Another 0-0, and there's another predictable 0-0 because Dundee, the two teams are short on confidence, and for Dundee, the players they've got on paper, I'm surprised in a sense they didn't throw in the new signings like Niall McGinn from the start, because I noticed James McPake said that he made a really good impact when he came on and looked like he'd be a positive acquisition for this team. But on the other hand, he hasn't played much football for Aberdeen, so maybe in a sense he wasn't fit enough to start. But looking at the comments on Dundee pages, they were saying that it was a terrible point dropped and just he didn't play well at all. And players like Christy Elliott seem to be getting a lot of abuse from Dundee fans. So I think that position, like the whole defence and attack, depending on what happens. Jason Cummings left already to go to I think Central Coast Mariners in Australia. Be interesting to see what happens with Lee Griffiths, because I think he was leading the line last night. So I think they're still.
Did you see him last night? It's not very conditioned very well. No. He's not. He's certainly. He wouldn't fit into an Ange Postecoglou team in terms of the condition of a. I'm not a conditioned footballer. I shouldn't be throwing pot shots here from my pot belly. But Lee Griffiths, you're not much better, mate. Kobe, I'm going to come to you here. I know there's been chat around should Callum Davidson get sacked, should he go? I know there's also sort of rumblings and discontent. I know Robbie's mentioned there from Dundee fans. I'm going to ask you a question or give your opinion. Who do you think out the two will go first, or can you see either of them going between Callum Davidson and James McPake?
It's like, I think, well, obviously both have the ties to the club. Obviously Davidson probably, I think obviously he's bought himself a bit more time with the obviously cup double from last season, but I'd be leaning towards McPake. I think there's been a bit more wrestle from, the fans have been a bit more restless from that side of things. They've brought in like some Niall McGinn, who is a good signing, but a lot of Dundee fans crying out for defenders. Now, I'd lean towards James McPake on that side of things. I think, it was a game where I think both managers needed a win. It was a winnable game for both. And none of them have also came out with that. They've came out with a point, which I guess you can say isn't the best, but was it 10 games without a win now for Callum Davidson? Yeah.
As indeed, and I think it's a classic sort of 6-pointer, wasn't it? Because St Johnstone now 12 still, not now, 15 points, Dundee 17, so they're still looking over their shoulder. But Dundee play there at home on Saturday to St Mirren. St Mirren, who early in the week beat Aberdeen. I'm going to speak to the two Dons here. We have to make a mention of Aberdeen since we've got two Dons on the show. I'll come to you first, Robbie. You were at the game, St Mirren, Aberdeen.
Unfortunately.
Yeah, what was your take? I know it was covered on last night's show, but what was your take on the game and just general Aberdeen chat?
Well, my take on the game is body language from Aberdeen was just all wrong. And you know what? It's a sign of you're going to have a poor game. It's when your captain, Scott Brown, who I've praised so much, and Celtic fans will know just what an example he can be to a side. And the commanding midfielder usually is. In the first 20 minutes, he had 3 misplaced passes and was kind of just not his usual self. And it just felt like Aberdeen was trying to walk the ball into the net, tippy-tappy stuff, then we go back the way. And I think the performance on the pitch reflected the fans in the stand, because I think Aberdeen had a sizable away following for the cold Tuesday night in Paisley, but performance was just awful. And I'll summarise it quite quickly, but you just knew Aberdeen had half an hour or something, 25 minutes to get an equaliser, or even find an equaliser and a winner. A club like Aberdeen should be able to do that with the squad and players at their disposal. But Christian Ramirez was playing far too deep, and he's supposed to be the lone striker. You want him in the penalty box striker. That's where he scores his goals. And then they sub on J. Emmanuel Thomas, and Kobe might be able to elaborate more on that guy because I don't know what to say. But I was just raging because the effort of this guy was just non-existent, and it was really frustrating as a paying fan to see someone come on, you're chasing a game, and football fans will know Calvin Zola, who played for Aberdeen, and J. Emmanuel Thomas, he was just labouring about, in the midfield, whereas a player like J. Emmanuel Thomas, we said to the media he'd scored 20 goals this season. He went in the box, crosses into the box, scoring. It was just an overall frustrating night. And Stephen Glass said, we'll put this down to, it just wasn't a day sort of thing. Well, a blip. How many blips can Aberdeen have in a season? And then Dundee United's on level points, so if you don't get a win at the weekend, it could be worrying. So, Kobe, what do you think?
I'm just glad I had a maths prelim the day after. To be honest with you, it was just, from watching at home, it was just, obviously you mentioned Brown. There's a few others. We've had to shoehorn in Dean Campbell, who gets a lot of stick from Aberdeen fans. Usually as a local lad, you maybe get a bit of leeway, but with him it seems to be kind of the opposite with fans, I feel. But shoehorned in at fullback again. And we've just nothing was going up top. I think we tried to change something because we started off and Ramirez was sitting a lot deeper than even Ojo and Teddy Jenks were. Jenks, who got hooped, I thought he was one of the better midfielders for us. But I don't know. Obviously, if you want me to mention Jet, then I've not been his biggest supporter all season. But there was a good run of games for a while where he was coming on or maybe starting out wide, which we were thinking, why is he drifting out wide a bit more? But he looked really good. He looked silky. He was pulling up skills. And then yesterday, you look at our bench. There's McLennan. There's Jet. There's no one I feel that could have came on and got a goal. So a striker is definitely needed with the remaining days in the window because it's looking bad now. For me, there was a lot of fans on Twitter turning right away who I saw tweeting after Edinburgh City saying, "Oh yeah, Glass. I'm loving the supporter of Glass." They were tweeting from the red shed with their phones, and it was then that we lose that, and then it's Glass out, blah blah blah. But I still think you can't. I think I don't know. I don't think it's the right thing to get rid of. I think we've seen a good enough run to maybe give him. But obviously, St Johnston's a big one. But I can tell you what happened. The window shut. Ramirez will pick up an injury, and then we'll be gobbed because we'll have to go with Jet up top, or Glass will come under a lot of fire. Alex Ferguson will come up for the United game, and we'll get all behind him. I don't know. There's something like that will happen, but I don't know, to be honest.
Yeah, I hope the latter is going to happen.
Graham, obviously as a Hearts fan, and I know you had your soapbox over at the start of the show, do you think we have it as bad as Hearts when you hear the two lads chatting about Aberdeen?
The glass is shattered and the jet isn't flying.
Yeah, definitely. I think all things considered, Aberdeen are kind of going through a sticky patch. I think I read the stat earlier on today that over the course of this season they've only won one away game. So you'll be glad that you're playing St Johnston at home on Saturday. I'll kind of get a quick score prediction from you guys. I know we'll discuss it tomorrow with Colin and the gang, but what do you think results-wise, just a quick score prediction from you both. Robbie, come to you first.
I'm going to say 1-0 Aberdeen. It won't be a pretty game, but they'll snatch it. Jenks.
1-0 Jenks. Kobe, coming to you. What do you think? Aberdeen and Johnstone, quick score prediction.
2-1 Aberdeen. Carl Hendry will score for St Johnstone. And Ramirez, I can see a David Bates header.
David Bates header. And Graham, coming to you in terms of Hearts Motherwell, quick score prediction.
5-0 Hearts. No, I'll go 2-1 Hearts.
Yeah, I will go 3-2 Hearts. I think they could really slip up there. But if you look at the time, that's 7 o'clock, and I know it's time for Coronation Street. I know Scott, regular commentator, likes to go and watch his Corrie, so we'll not stay on too long. But thank you for joining us, and again, be sure to tune in to tomorrow's episode.